streaming and recording. All right, welcome back. So, Windows has shoved an update on the computer that has interfered with my camera, and so that's why I'm a disembodied voice. But that's okay. You don't need to see my ugly mug anyway. You can just gaze upon John's gloriousness. All right. Well, let's. So you were talking about Matt Mercer and such. You were talking about gaming and our example of Heroes of the Mist, and part of the reason why do I do Heroes of the Mist the way I do it?
You do it because that's to give a realistic view of what role-playing is.
In the recreational aspect. Matt Mercer does it in the entertainment way. We're trying to show people, if you're an average group...
voice actors with... I'm not sure how much of his show is actually random because...
Right, yeah, it's scripted.
There might be some scripting involved in there.
Probably. And ours is closer to the actual recreational tabletop role-playing game experience. Yeah, we've got some audience interaction. We got a real-time artist. And Joe is a professional improv comic, but everybody else is just average Joes off the street. You know, they auditioned.
So the only Joe is not average.
Right. Good point. But the point, we don't use Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds or any of those tools that can get a little expensive. We use miniatures, whiteboard. We use what you would use if you were playing in your friend's house, with your friends.
Plus cameras.
And then we stream it, but we're trying to give you just an average experience of what role-playing game is like, and then we interject a little bit of theory and discussion and such about dynamics that are happening in the group and such. But we're hoping that makes it more accessible, as opposed to the entertainment thing. Now, we train people for professionals, role-playing game professionals, both on RPG research side for volunteers, and then over at RPG Therapeutics LLC towards certification. And there's 4 different sectors. I think that's the word I've settled on now, is sectors.
Sectors make sense.
So you have the recreational approach to role-playing gaming, the entertainment approach to role-playing gaming, the educational, and therapeutic. And so these are different, sectors of industry that are different ways to apply role-playing gaming. And you play the game differently and run the game differently for each of those different sectors. What you do in the comfort of your own home with your friends is a different game than you're going to run at a con or that you're going to run on stage or streaming live for other people. And that's going to be very different than what you do to run it in educational, where you're trying to achieve an educational goal. And it's going to be different than how you run it when you're trying to achieve specific measurable therapeutic goals. And so focusing on the entertainment sector, that is about entertaining the audience, not yourselves. It's great if you have a good time, but it's not about you entertaining yourselves and you having fun. You may, but it's about entertaining your audience.
Right.
That's what Critical Role is about, is to entertain the audience. That's why they're voice actors and such. So you're going to bring up throughout this article from Matt Mercer, because this has been one of my pet peeves for years about the misrepresentation of what the role-playing game experience is.
On N-World or EN-World, however you pronounce it, I pronounce it EN-World, which means I'm probably wrong. There's a thing called How Do I Beat the Matt Mercer Effect. And on Reddit, a user named Mr. Builder asked Matt Mercer how to deal with folks who unfavorably compare their home game to that of Critical Role's videos. And Matt took to Reddit to pen a reply. Basically, to make it narrow down, he's saying, look, I have 20 years of experience. We're using professional actors. You shouldn't be comparing apples to oranges like this. There's nothing wrong with how they do it on the show, but you're not Matt Mercer, not Vax Machina. You get unrealistic explanations. This is like watching the Olympics and wondering why your track team at home sucks.
Right.
You're playing a different game.
Yeah.
So that was an important article that people are. While Matt Mercer's done a lot of good to bring new players.
Sure, awareness and everything. We're not knocking what he's doing for what they're doing. It's just there is some confusion. That is real confusion. People read some of the examples that they talk about, that some of the problems that are happening because the viewers. I don't blame Critical Role for this. I blame the ignorance of the viewers.
Right.
And maybe a little disclaimer in Critical Role would be helpful. Just a little blurb that says, this is entertainment. This is not an accurate depiction of role-playing gaming, but it is a start, But let your group do things differently so that your group has its own style and flavor. Because he specifically talks about their style.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with how they do it on the show, but I'm not Max Mercer. They're not Vox Machina. And at some point, the unrealistic expectations are going to clash with reality. How do you guys deal with players who had past DMs they swear by? Critical Role has become the prototype for how many players think D&D works. How do I push my own way of doing things without letting them down? And Matt Mercer replied, seeing stuff like this kind of breaks my heart, regardless of the fact no matter your style of play is just that. Our style of play, every table is different, and it should be. If they want to copy what we make, that's not very creative, nor does it make the game magical at the table. I need to also, and I'm skipping the next paragraph, but I need to also remind players that we're at a table of professional actors. I've been DMing for well over 20 years, and we've spent our lives training in a particular skills that allow us to get immersed in characters as we enjoy doing. Anyone can jump in as deeply, should they wish, but expecting that immediate level of comfort and interest is unfair and absurd. Do they want deep, convoluted emotional journeys like Scallon, who I assume is a character on the show? They better be able to bring it like Sam did? No, then sit down and just have fun finding your own path. Plus, our style isn't for everyone. Hell, just scan the comments below to see how many folks don't like us. I've played many different players, ran games, many different styles and focuses. And I think that's probably the most important
that sums
point
it up.
Is that different players are going to have different styles. I have different styles depending on my audience.
We play very differently with 5 to 9 year olds than 12 to 17 year olds, than 18 to 20, 30 year olds, than 30 plus to 50 year olds and 50 plus year olds.
Right.
Just for one example of many.
not even talking different genres.
Just age groups.
You don't play No Thank You Evil like you're running a Cthulhu campaign.
Well, that's what the No Thank You Evil card is for.
You will constantly beat me up.
By the way, regarding the N-World, I think it is just N-World because, so I was reading about Morris. Morris is that's M-O-R-R-U-S. This is the About page on nworld.org. Is the founder and owner of EN World, EN Space World, and owner of EN Space Publishing, the EN Space World Gen Con RPG Awards, the ENNIES, E-N-N-I-E-S, all one word.
Right.
N-Sider, E-N-S-I-D-E-R, Trail Seeker and Eons and designers of the What's Old is New 1 role-playing game system. He has been reporting on tabletop games since 1999 and has published over 300 tabletop role-playing game products since 2001, has been an RPG community administrator for nearly 20 years, and has run RPG Kickstarters totaling nearly $500,000, and there's a list of the books. So I think it is, because of the N-Cider and the Ennies, I think it's N-World.
Yeah.
Even though
Ian
it's
Cider would not
E-N.
make sense.
What's that?
Ian Cider wouldn't make as much sense.
Right, exactly. So E and N may stand for something, I don't know what, but because they're both capitalized. So there's some history there that I don't know, but I'm guessing it's N-World. So let's go with that until somebody corrects us otherwise.
Like I said, I was.
So at least you and I are consistent. Cool. Well, that's great. And thank you, Matt. Yeah, like he's going to listen to this, but thank you, Matt, for making those comments and helping explain to people. So it isn't just a bunch of talking heads seeming to be critical of you, that you're also explaining to people so that they will listen to you, because you have such a great listenership. It's important to make such important distinctions. What else you got there, John?
Well, we talk about Choose Your Own Adventures.
SABMs.
Solo Adventures, Books and Modules.
Choose Your Own Adventure is a specific brand.
Right, which is exactly
with a trademark. Yeah.
And that trademark, Choose Your Own Adventure, came out with a board game called House of Danger.
Cool.
It's 1 to 99 players.
What?
That's what the box says.
Okay.
It's 60-minute playing time, age 10 and above, and it is a cooperative choose your own adventure board game.
Huh.
Haven't had a chance to review it myself. I plan on doing so. especially since it fits into that category.
Yep.
And I just happened to have watched
So let's see how much it costs. Oh, it's about $20 on Amazon.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going in my shopping cart.
I just got done watching, not finished watching.
Oh wait, no, that's not the board game. That's just the classic.
It's House of Danger.
Comes with this new narrative adventure game. Yeah, House of Danger. Choose your adventure. Okay. All right. Oh, okay. There it is. I see. It's got the cards. It's boxed just like
Right.
the CYOA things here. So it's a
It
little,
looks just like
right. Oh, okay.
So it is Choose Your Own Adventure brand name.
Okay. For Prime, it's $35. There are others selling it for $20, but they're charging $10 to $15 in shipping.
Right.
So it's really $35. Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and add that one to the shopping list.
It's like old eBay. I will sell you this.
So does it give any
$5.
quick highlights about how that works?
Let's see. Classic Choose Your Own Adventure series come to life in the narrative adventure game Choose Your Own Adventure House of Daggers. When you survive the House of Daggers, gather your friends for a perilous, laughter-filled adventure through the House of Danger itself. Make risky choice. Collect items as you explore and face against dire challenges. Play again to uncover more secrets and different endings. And that's all it says.
Okay, so it's kind of doing what we were already doing, where we go through Choose Your Own Adventure as a group.
Right.
Rather than by ourselves. But it's okay. Well, all right. We'll have to check that out. Because that definitely fits our research, so we need to follow up on that. Cool. What else? We're going to fly through these pretty quickly because we are running behind. We've got a lot to cover.
Also in the event, well, Choose Your Own Adventure, we talked about starter sets.
Yeah, you heard me rant about why doesn't anybody understand what a real starter set is? If you can't sit down and play right away by yourself without preparation, it's not a starter set. All these others, Star Wars, D&D, all of them, call them starter sets, but you got to read everything first and prep everything first. And that's not a good way to introduce new people to role-playing. The old 1983 Red Box Basic Edition, now it's going to fall out of my head, the Menser version.
Right.
That was, in my view, my not so humble opinion, the ideal way to do an introduction, where it starts you out basically Choose Your Own Adventure, but it's walking you through learning your stats and your rolling and hit points and tracking that yourself first, and so you kind of play yourself. Then it walks you through running your first group. As a GM, you don't have to read ahead at all. You go through step by step by step to get the hang of it. You learn through layering. Which is where role-playing gaming is so powerful with learning. And nobody's been repeating that since 1983.
Except for now.
So do tell. I'm excited
Mike
to hear
Mason
about this.
and friends apparently have been listening, at least psychically, and they have come out with the Call of Cthulhu starter set for Call of Cthulhu 2.
Okay.
And it starts you off as a Choose Your Own Adventure. It's like Alone Against the Dark is the first scenario. Let's see if I can find the actual title. Alone Against the Flames.
Alone Against the Flames.
That's the first.
Against the Flames.
It's first designed to be played by one player for Call of Cthulhu.
Okay.
7th edition, and then it.
And then there's a mini campaign. So there's 2 books on Amazon. Does it say that there's 2 different books? Because the first one's to play alone, and then the second one is a mini campaign. Or is it the same? I'm a little confused.
Well, I sent you the article.
This is also a solo adventure for Call of Cthulhu game. It's a horror story set in 1920. So we got 2 different book covers. Oh, Alone Against the Flames, and then Alone Against the Dark.
Right.
So there's 2 already.
Supposedly, how this is going to work is that you play your Choose Your Own Adventure version first, and then it's the next story is for you and one other player.
Okay.
And the next story is you and 2 players. So it slowly builds you up to working with more and more people.
Okay.
As opposed to just you and then the other players.
Right, which is what I've been railing about. Okay. Cool. Well, I am ordering those, and we will try them out. We will share them live on the air. We will go through with the audience doing them, because why not? If it's do it as you go, we'll do it with the audience and share that experience.
Now, Netflix is doing Choose Your Own Adventures.
Really?
Yep, they're
Really?
doing it with some kids' stories,
Yeah.
which I haven't looked into, so I can't give you the titles of any of them.
Huh.
But I can tell you that there's one, Black Mirror, which is a series of science fiction stories, is also doing Bandersnatch, which is just recently come out.
Okay.
And it is a choose your own adventure, mature audience movie.
Huh.
And you have 10
And so you
seconds.
jump to different.
Yeah, you use
selections?
your remote control, and there's
Okay.
you get two choices, and you have 10 seconds to make a choice, or it takes the one that's already highlighted. And if you make a mistake, it can reset, and the in-game characters seem to realize that something's reset, but they're not sure how or anything like that. The choose your own adventure aspect of it is built into the games with the characters, and it is seamless. When you click on something, there's no cutscene, nothing. It's
Wow.
almost as if you hadn't made a choice because the movie just keeps playing.
So that reminds me so much of Dirk the Daring,
Right.
the
That
old
was a
Disney
Twitch game.
CD. But it was a CD. You had 2 or 3 choices. You had a joystick, and that was about it. And it was the first CD arcade game. It was in the arcades.
Right.
You know, it had its issues, but that's very reminiscent of that. And that's basically what it was. It was a choose your own adventure recorded video cartoon, but still. So that's interesting. So that's on Netflix now.
Correct. I was just watching part of it before I came here.
So we might have to do that for a staff meeting.
It'll be fun.
Play through that in the broadcast room. We can't do it. We can't do that over the air because of the copyright material.
Right, but we can sure talk about what we saw and did.
We certainly can. I was thinking tonight bringing in the VR headset for some of the new people here to try out, and seeing if I can share the image on the live stream. We'll experiment with that. I was thinking as part of today's applied
That
gaming.
would be interesting.
Yeah, to share with our audience. So that's 6 to 9 tonight. What else we got?
Okay, last thing for the news thing before we start moving into your information. Hobby games, it was a very good year. This is, again, on N-World. Let's talk about Dungeons & Dragons, the industry. While book and mortar places are having issues, Barnes & Noble is having non-books are their better things. They have an increase of 1.9%. Books are down. They're having a holiday slump. Hasbro's doing okay, even though that there was a 10% reduction in force.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did some layoffs. But this is the second year that during one of their stakeholder meetings and such, they mentioned D&D, the D&D property.
Well, with a
which is
30%
huge.
growth,
Yeah.
you have to mention it.
Well, okay. That's great. In the RPG bubble, that is awesome.
Right.
But let's put this in perspective.
Well, in perspective, it's nothing.
Exactly. So people were railing, why doesn't Hasbro notice? Like, because it's tiny. In 2008, 2009, as the economy crashed, video game sales and such in the U.S., including mobile devices and all that, went from over $17 billion and plummeted over the next 10 years, 8 years, down to around just above $15 billion. They lost almost $2 billion in market. That's a huge hit. But now we're talking billion with a B, from $17 billion to $15 billion for video game sales. At the time when this started back 08, 09, hobby gaming was about 250, 300 million with an M back during that time. So 17 billion versus 300 million. That was hobby gaming with board games, card games, role-playing gaming, all that. And role-playing gaming inside of that hobby gaming was maybe 20 million.
Right, which is a sliver.
Right, so we're getting really tiny with 17 billion, 300 million, 20 million. Right. But, that being said, percentage-wise, double-digit 20, 30% growth ever since. And we've talked before my theories about, people needing to unplug after being so electronic, that the best bang for the buck, because video games become so expensive between recurring costs and upgrade costs and all these other issues, and needing to humanize and the return of the family game night, all of those things are theories as to why this has had such a resurgence. Kickstarter, indie gaming, there's so many different contributors here. And we've talked about in other shows, and we don't have time to go into depth on this one, catch it in our other archives. That being said, fast forward, now it's estimated around 1.5, 1.6, anywhere from 1.5 to 1.8 billion for 2018 for hobby gaming. 1.5 to 1.8 billion, from 300 million to that in just 10 years, less than 10 years. That's really incredible growth, right? 300 to 300 to 600, double that again, you're at 1.2 billion. It's really, really impressive. And role-playing gaming has grown. It's maybe in the 40 to 50 million range. So it went from 20 to 40, 50, which is more than double. So that's still great percentage-wise, and hopefully it's going to keep going. Now, that being said, the economy was doing pretty well in a lot of areas, but there's still been a lot of economic factors that are really out of whack, and we're overdue for another major readjustment. And the question is, so the economic aspect of it is one of the reasons why a lot of people use role-playing games and card games, because it's not as expensive as computer games. So another crash might actually help grow the industry more. Unless it crashes too hard, where nobody has any money to spend on such things, then that's a different story. So I want to be careful, because somebody, when I was talking about this, I was talking to a local game development company here. I didn't tell you about that interview yesterday.
No.
He's developing some. Well, actually, I can't. We have to do it off air. I can't talk it on the air. It's kind of
NDA.
Yeah, it wasn't a formal one, but I want to respect it. But he's manufacturing gaming supplies here in town. He's a local company here, and He's got some cool stuff, including potentially braille dice and other stuff too. So we were bouncing ideas off each other.
Okay.
And he's targeting the more premium customers. That's
is he going so far as?
Yeah, not the box thing, but still
he's
up
not
there.
doing Beatles and Bards or
but those types of customers.
Black.
Those types of customers.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll have to talk about that off air. Sorry, folks. But it was a great conversation. Anyway, he was saying, well, yeah, it seems like gaming has become kind of recession-proof. No. It depends on how far you dip and where it dips and where people are prioritizing. I think, again, it's part of the problem is people need to unplug. That's why they've been drawn to the board games and the role-playing games. They need that human interaction to use our frontal cortex, because otherwise it's not getting used properly.
Yeah. I can see that even in the Great Depression, people will still be playing games. They just won't be buying anything new.
Even more so, right. They're going to use something that they can use over and over. And that's where a role-playing game versus a board game, because card games, board games, you kind of use up. You get kind of bored with them over and over. The role-playing game, you can buy the same set of rule books and come up with new ideas and keep growing and keep growing and keep growing with your same set of supplies. Now, that is a double-edged sword. That is what kills role-playing game companies. That's why role-playing game companies have so much trouble making money, unless they do like Fantasy Flight or Wizards, where you have to keep buying cards and add-ons and miniatures. Mm-hmm. That keeps the money flowing. Because once you buy the books, unless you're like us, where we keep buying more books because we run so many groups, you buy one set of books, you're done. And you don't have to buy another book or product ever again. Right?
Yep.
That's
you
the
not have
curse.
to change editions just because they did.
Yeah, that's the curse of a tabletop role-playing game. Unlike electronic, where you can force people through obsolescence and not being available, you can force people to upgrade. You can't force role-playing gamers to upgrade if they don't want to. You have to incentivize them in some way. But that means if you're broke, that's your best bang for the buck. Spend the 50 to 100, whatever, $200 up front, and then that's it. You don't have to spend another dime the rest of your life, and you've got unlimited entertainment.
Yep.
Cool. What else? Was that the last of your little news pieces there?
That was the news.
So,
I recommend going. There's more stats on sales, like which books actually made the top 10 lists.
Well, did you see that the top 100 for December on Amazon included multiple D&D books?
Mordecai's Tome of Phones is the top 10 print in the country last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Star Set's still growing. Player's Handbook is experiencing notable growth. But we've had books that actually make the top 10 list, the New York top 10.
Yeah.
In the nonfiction category, by the way.
Which is weird, but I get it, because it's a rule book. But it is kind of weird, because it's all fictional adventure stuff. I get it, but it is kind of it's not quite intuitive.
Exactly. Those are my stories.
Okay. Very cool. Thank you, John. Well, and so talking about the year, we were in October, December. Well, there's so much went on. Let's see. I got about 18 minutes. Okay. So we were in the local magazine, Spokane magazine here, the Inlander. Just a little blurb. They did several page spread on the resurgence of Dungeons and Dragons, and they talked to a number of different groups, and they spent hours interviewing John and me and other players and taking photos at our different locations, and they're like 3 or 4 paragraphs, so it's great. They mentioned us, and they got a nice big picture of you, which is great. But it was weird how little there was out of how many pages the article was. And they spent a lot of time. And like, maybe they're going to make a series. I don't know, because they spent hours talking to us. And that guy took a lot of photos.
Right.
So hopefully they'll do more. But anyway, so they did a nice little article. And this triggered a lot of new people coming in to our Spark Central Friday community programs. So that was great. And we'll hang on to that copy. Is that yours or mine?
That was yours.
Okay, great. Prior to that,
at home.
it was triggered through the same people, but different interviewers. We were also previously on the Tumbleweird, which is the Tri-Cities Central Washington local, like the Inlander is local to Eastern Washington.
I don't know if they have a physical newspaper.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's online. But so Quinn Welsh, heroic research in Eastern Washington therapists using games such as Dungeons & Dragons to help and teach. And it's got a bunch of photos of us. So you can check it out at Tumbleweird, December 2018. And there's nice little, there's some nice little photos and stuff there too.
Yeah.
So that was nice to get a little of that. And then
Nothing you must actually see this online. But that's
end
what
of
an article
November,
looks like.
yeah, end of November, first part of December, I was at PAX Unplugged on panels. That was wonderful, went very well. Met some great people. Met my first 3 fans. I never had fans before.
As long as they don't turn into stalkers.
Yes. Okay. So Brandon's not making it from Arizona. He's not going to be able to remote in tonight.
Okay.
But yeah, they came up to me and says, yeah, I've been following your work for years. I chose my degree and career path because of what I was reading on your website and in your videos and your essays. Oh.
We got somebody's paying attention?
Multiple people said that. Not even people who didn't say fans said, I chose my degree path because of what I was reading from RPG research way back when, like 10 years ago and such. They chose their bachelor, they chose their master's, and some are working on their doctorate specifically because of what they read back on rpgresearch.com. Holy crap!
That's very exciting.
It's a little scary too. It's a little intimidating.
So in other words, it's your fault.
Apparently. Well, and here's the other thing. Now, this I feel nicely vindicated. So 2004, there was very little research available. I aggregated all I could find, and it was like 40 to 60 studies at best, and that was being generous. And I put all that on the website, with citations on it. So you could find everything on to do with role-playing game research. You could find on the RPG Research Project site before it became rpgresearch.com. It was just the RPG Research Project. And that helped people. People contacted me over time through emails and at PAX and such saying, it was because you made that all accessible in one place that it helped me create a proposal for my bachelor's capstone, my master's thesis, or my doctoral dissertation. I was able to point to these resources because you made them accessible, because I could not find them in my university databases until you made me aware of them. They were buried and almost impossible to find because I spent years digging these things up. And it was because of that they're doing the research they've been doing. So they said, we are doing this research study because we came across your research back when, or that essay that you wrote in 2004 or 7 or 8 or the different ones. It was because of that we're now doing research. And so then you see in 2008, 6 and 8, all of a sudden research on role-playing games has spiked. Now I attributed that to just the market increase.
Right.
But the research spike started in 2006 before the market increase. And now in talking to these people, some of those studies that I saw, that was because of what RPG research. I'm a flutter and agog.
And you wonder why people call you the grandfather.
Well, it was nice that he called me the Godfather this last time, so I don't feel quite so old. But I'm so glad, because that was the dream. right? You don't always know that, you know, you get these wacky ideas and you don't know if they're going to have that impact. You hope. Lots of us are hopeful
Right.
that it'll have this kind of impact, but you never know. And most of the time it doesn't. So to hear these people and say that, no, this changed my life. All I did was set up a website and aggregate some data and wrote a few essays. Whoa. So let's be careful. Because I have big boots, I stomp around a lot, and I have a big mouth, and wow, that was a real, that shook me up. I'm still kind of adjusting to that, because I did not, it was never intention for me to get personal notoriety or fame. It was just about wanting this to become a thing. This research on role-playing games was, there was a dearth, it was pretty dead, and I really thought there's a huge potential there, and it needed to change, and people needed to get excited about it and see how much potential there was here, so that it would trigger, and there's an essay I wrote back in 0407 about the previous 30 years of research. We only have about 40, 60 studies. I predict that over the next 30 years, it's going to boom, that the previous research was just the tiniest tip of the iceberg, and that once people realize the real potential of role-playing games, it is going to skyrocket. Somebody pointed that essay out to me recently, and I was like, I forgot I wrote that, and I said that.
Right.
And I was like, well, thank you. And I'm sorry. I don't know how much money you're going to make doing this, but good luck. But they're getting research grants to do this.
Right.
Wow! Even if we, as RPG research organization, because we struggle with money.
Well, that reminds me is that, you know, people becoming interested, even politicians are starting to get on the bandwagon.
Oh, right. Yep.
And we pointed out the article from Dragon Talk with the senator.
Right.
Now, you never did respond to.
I got it. I started reading through. I didn't have. I needed to go back and respond to that. Ping me today again. I'm sorry. I'm just juggling.
I'm sure he's back from the holidays now.
So I need to get on that. Yeah, I need to hurry on that. So my apologies. You know, I'm the bottleneck. But even if RPG research never takes off financially, you know, volunteer-wise, we're growing hugely. So we are now. So we just added 2 new ones for 2019. 2 new volunteers signed up, and we've gone through the paperwork and they're onboarded. So we just added 45 and 46. But 18 months ago, we were at number 6 for volunteers at RPG research. 2 years before that, it was just me, and then you came on board, and then, you know, and then within a year we had 6. 18 months ago, we had 6. The end of 2018, we were at number 44, and we're about to hit 50. We're probably going to hit 50 this month in January, in 18 months. And we have volunteers all over. So, you know, about a third of them are here in Spokane, and a third to a half. I don't know. I have to go actually see how many. A fair number of them are here in Spokane, but the rest are around the world. We've got active volunteers in Brazil, all over the USA, Canada, UK, EU, Saudi Arabia. This is awesome. I'm just totally stoked. So what a year. What a year. Now, if I could just figure out the whole donor fundraising thing, that's the thing. Like, I know how to do businesses and make a profit. I've done that on and off over the years, no problem. I do not understand the fundraising thing clearly, because we have not been able to get the fundraising to take off. We've had some really hardcore, wonderful donors who have stuck with us over years now, donating a little bit here and there, and it really, really helps, and we're so grateful to them.
We need to camp out in front of a celebrity.
We need something. And I've tried like every little thing I can think of to try to get those donations to go up for RPG research. Now, the good news is, even if we don't get a dime, RPG Therapeutics LLC's charter is that 20% of profits will go towards RPG research. So that will keep RPG research nudging along. And most of what we need is man hours, not cash. Cash would help us take things to a whole other level. But we can keep growing as an organization with the little bit that we have, thanks to our wonderful donors who've stuck with us over this time. Because we have maybe 20 regular donors. It's pretty hard to run an organization of nearly 50 people on 20 donors of, you know, $5-10 a month. But we're doing it. That's how lean and mean you are, between open source and a lot of volunteer hours. A lot of my hours, a lot of your hours. We make it happen thanks to that. And it should keep growing a little bit, and then hopefully, I just don't know what's going to make it take off. I don't know. It is not my forte. I've worked for nonprofits, but I don't understand the whole campaign part of it clearly. Because if I did, by now we'd be soaring.
Well, I think all the successful nonprofits have one thing that we don't have, and that's a separate person who does nothing but fundraising.
Well, Brooke's technically that. She's technically our director of fundraising. But she doesn't have real prior experience. She'd worked at the Muscular Dystrophy Association as the director of all the summer camps around the country. So she was part of the Muscular Dystrophy fundraising thing. She did fundraisers. She would do parties and stuff. And heck, I went to some of her fundraisers, like the fire department and everything there, they'd have like $250,000 just that day they raised. Right? And the Spokane Muscular Dystrophy Association was raising millions every year, and she was part of that. But role-playing games are harder to sell because they're complicated and a different concept than muscular dystrophy.
Right.
And we're not visible.
We are working for a cure.
And we're not visible. We don't have a whole visible campaign because most of our clients are protected, and so we have to be very limited in what we can show publicly when we go to our community programs that we run every Friday and such. So I would love to figure out is the problem is if we start bringing in so people have suggested, well, you need to sell products and t-shirts and swag and all of that. The problem is the moment we get into that, now we start getting into, even though we're nonprofit, 501c3, you still have to cover all of that management of inventory. It creates a huge expense that we don't have the means to go to that level at this point. Someday that would be great.
Doing it. Because
they're getting grants. They've been getting grants.
Right.
They've been getting fundraising from that Twitch show, Geeks for Good or whatever. Right. They get like thousands of dollars at a time just from that when they run on that show, like $2,000 to $5,000 in one shot. Dr. B, Rafael Bocamazzo, just tweeted today they raised over $3,100 recently for TakeThis.org for his nonprofit. They're in Seattle. That helps. We're in old Spokane. And they do, and one of the Adams for Game to Grow, his wife is a marketing lawyer, so she's connected. So that's part of it. I don't have any of those connections. I don't have any of them. Now, I was talking to this guy yesterday, Zach, and he's going to see if he can connect us with some of the nonprofit and other folks, but we'll see. So I still haven't figured it out. But basically, I put in a lot of time trying to raise awareness, and basically my decision has been I don't know how to do it. So I'm going back to what I do know how to do. I know how to do research. I know how to do these community programs. I know how to train people. And so I'm getting back to what I know how to do. And then hopefully at some point we'll get somebody on board who knows how to do fundraising and marketing. Because I spent a good year and a half there really hitting. Remember, I said, okay, I'm going to spend this next year busting my tail on the marketing and fundraising side. We're making less money. We're bringing in less money now in donations than a year ago, at least on our regular fund. Now we've had some Facebook bonuses and things like that, but on our regular donations we went backwards. So that clearly is not my forte. And part of it is I feel uncomfortable. I always feel uncomfortable asking for money. I have no trouble saying, pay me for this service or product.
Right. I'm
a capitalist. I understand how that works. That has worked, and I've done very well in that over the decades. In multiple industries, been very successful at that. I have a lot of trouble asking for people to just give money to be kind, because they believe in what we're doing, and that probably is showing up in my efforts. So we need to get somebody on board who really gets it and can help us take it to the next level. But if that never happens, that's okay. These volunteers are making it happen. The guy in New Jersey is going to be training as a game master. He's going to be a representative for us in New Jersey. He's going to be having to run games, community games, once we get him trained up for us in New Jersey. So, that's going to be part of what we're doing with our remote GMs is getting them trained to do it in multiple locations.
Right.
So we're going to have a reach that way just through man hours.
We're going to do some on-camera gaming so we can see
Right,
him.
Yeah, he'll be, exactly. That's how he'll get his scoring and everything. He'll get permission to record so they can get his diploma and everything. Speaking of that, been revising. So back in 2014, back in the 80s, friends and I talked about certification. I was a certified RPGA GM. Remember when they used to do the certifications for that? I was certified.
I still have my plastic card.
Cool. I lost mine, but they used to do that back in the 80s. You could get certified as a dungeon master and stuff. Now, it didn't mean you were a great GM. It meant you were a good rules lawyer. That's all it
Yeah,
meant.
you knew the rules. You could take the test.
Exactly. And then
And
later
you
year
did
in the third edition, you could get a certified player and certified DM. During third edition, they did something similar with that as well. You could online take the test, and I did that as well. But there isn't really any formal certification as a professional role-playing gamer since those have gone away. And again, those only just say that you know the rules. They don't really say that you know how to put together and run a game at all.
Right.
So, and there's nothing currently that does even that, even just the rules certifications for whatever reason gone away. There's rumors that are going to be bringing that back, but we'll see. So, in the 80s, we talked about, well, what if there was a full professional GM thing, and then, life happened and we didn't continue that. So then as I got into this back heavily into 2004 again, I started talking about, well, is there any certification body? What can we do to make certified? And it was a lot of conversations. I've had conversations with people over the years and have thrown together different ideas. But it wasn't until about 2014 that I finally tried to formalize some sort of certification program. And the problem was, between all the different RPG formats, tabletop, live action, electronic, and solo adventure books and modules, there's the formats. Then there's the different sectors, recreation, entertainment, education, and therapeutic. And then there is the game system and the genres, and there's a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Yes. You were.
Nope.
Okay.
I was just looking at the time.
Okay. Yeah, I know. So trying to have a certification that actually means anything was very challenging. So I started creating a whole bunch of different certifications. So you had the certified game master therapist, the certified game master educator, the RPG advocate, the RPG facilitator, and some of those have stuck. The RPG advocate, the RPG facilitator, those were smaller and more manageable pieces, and those have worked out. We've been able to get distinctive classes created, and the process has gotten better and better. So that was 2014. Recently, from some feedback from folks, they're like, "Why do you have 30 different certifications?" And I'm like, "Well, if you look at the tech industry, that's normal."
Right.
If you look at the SANS Institute and GIAC, Global Information Assurance Certification Body, they have 30 different certifications because market demand says you need different areas of knowledge. And you can work up to the GSE, which is the amalgamation of a whole bunch of them. But that being said, I could see that it creates brand confusion, etc. And at least with the GIAC, everything starts with a G. So you have so I'm a GCIH, I'm a GIAC certified incident handler for information security. And there's the GCI, there's all these GGGGG, so you recognize that it's a GIAC certification, you know what to look for. And then you got the CISSSP, which is just one big one, doesn't have all this. So SANS Institute, its GIAC offers over 30 different certifications for different areas. They have different industries, and then they have different specialties. So I've finally been able to kind of rework it, and I'm waiting for your feedback on it, to just one overarching certification, but with different endorsements, which is typical of teaching certifications. So I've been certified in the medical industry. I've been a nurse's aide, I've been a rehabilitation therapist, LPN training. You were an LPN, you went through the home care. We both come from that medical background. I also have my tech background. I have many certifications from that. I was certified mechanic 4 times over, certified in environmental stuff. I was certified in information security, etc. And I was a certified instructor for a while there. I taught at junior colleges and such, the American Automotive Institute, etc. So they all have different approaches to professional certification. Now, the medical one's kind of the trickiest because they usually require certification bodies. And it takes decades sometimes to get these certifications like the CNA and stuff off the ground into where they become recognized by universities and other things, and you get accredited and all of that. CTRS took decades for the CTRS to become a thing and become accredited and all of that. But in the tech industry, what we've done is a company says, we want to know that you have this minimum standard of knowledge, so we're creating the certification for the field we care about. The GIAC is a nonprofit, but they care about information security. Microsoft, all the different Microsoft certifications. Oracle, all the different Oracle certifications. You take that certification, and then the only thing that matters is do the employers around the world recognize that certification is any good? The early Microsoft certifications sucked. If you were an MCP, people just laughed at you. If you're A+ certified, most people laugh at you. The A+ certifications are a joke. They've gotten a little better, but they're kind of a joke. So certifications over time get a reputation depending upon their quality, one way or the other.
How hard it was to get in, etc.
Right. Well, what are the standards? And so I've been working on this where we're establishing a certification. We're not accredited, but it's a professional certification, and so it's through RPG Therapeutics LLC. So the one, it's the overarching is the Certified RPG Professional, CRPGP.
Right.
It's a mouthful, but it's descriptive, it's accurate, and then you just do endorsements, just like teacher endorsements that say, I am a CRPG tabletop role-playing game master in recreational settings, and I have a couple of population specialties with youth and at risk. And so we've got a way to code that and break it down into piece by piece. Now, if you want to be everything, there's one overarching certification. The CRPG PW. Or we might drop the P part and just make it. So W is for wizard. Now, we're debating this one. The only person who could have that right now would be me. You would be the close second on that. Get your TR experience and stuff. Yeah. So that's certified role playing game professional wizard, or we might just drop the professional and just say certified role playing game wizard. We're debating, but nobody's even close to being ready for that yet. So it's pie in the sky. A lot of stuff's still being worked out on the fly, but we're getting there. We're getting the classes. RPG Education's back up and running. We're going to be taking new enrollment in February. We've got to get you in there to make sure nothing's broken. Lots of good stuff.
In the Army and in the medical field, you have, I am a LPN with who's certified with phlebotomy.
Mm-hmm.
I only say
those
I'm
endorsements,
an LPN.
yeah, right. You just say I'm a certified RPG professional.
Right.
In what? Well, I'm an advocate. Well, what's that mean? Then you get to explain.
Right.
But at least start with that CRPGP. So I think that's a better name than all of the others that every single one had a different acronym. I think it'll have better brand recognition
I agree.
over time. Okay.
And
we welcome your feedback.
You're not going to put all your identifiers on the end of your signature, but
yeah. But on a resume, you will.
Yeah.
On your CV and resume, you will. Because employers, as they learn to recognize it and they can cross-reference on a page, this means they have passed a minimum set of standards, and our standards are pretty strict. You got to get a 90% or better. The tests are not easy, are they?
Nope. Even those of us who know everything get along.
Yeah. The bar is high. I want this to be a high-quality, respected certification. I know people look at it as a joke. I'm looking at it as professionally, coming from multiple professions and remembering the good certifications and the crappy ones. I'm modeling this after the good ones that have a high standard of excellence. And only time will tell if that really holds up, but it's coming along nicely. And so I'm excited about that. So all this stuff's going on. We just got 2 new volunteers signed up this week, and we've had a couple other interviews that are, pending them signing up. Got several more interviews next week. I think we're going to hit 50 in January.
That'd be a good milestone. We should have a party.
Yeah. Talk
There's
to
no
Rick
party
about
like a D&D party.
So all that great stuff is so tomorrow. So Fridays, of course, we do our community programs.
Yep.
And we're finally getting around to what we've talked about doing, which is so we do drop in an RPG on Fridays on the 2nd and 4th at Spark Central Community Center. We do it on the 3rd Friday of each month at the Spokane County Library, North Spokane County Library currently. And then we've been talking about on the 1st of the month doing it with the bus and trailer at different locations around the Inland Empire. So we're finally doing that tomorrow. I've got the bus and trailer hooked up and getting it all ready to go. And we will be at the corner of Pines and Sprague tomorrow, Friday, January 4th, 2019, from 4 to 7 p.m. Actually, we'll be there long before then to set up.
That will be the empty lot east of Denny's.
Okay, east of Denny's. And we don't expect anybody to show up yet other than people who see the artwork and show up, drive in and go, what is this? By the time people get this, odds are nobody, But over time, what we have learned, if we build it, eventually they will come. Spark Central, we got overwhelming demand. During the summer, we had 5-6 tables. We just don't have enough game masters, and we unfortunately had to keep turning people away.
Yep.
And that's what kind of hurt that. So we got to get more of our game masters ramped up again. So same thing with this. For the first little while, especially with the weather and the holidays, it'll probably just be excellent chance for you guys to get more training. coach you guys and get you guys off on your diploma checklist. But we'll be out there advertising, and it's open to everybody. We are the ultimate in inclusiveness and accessible because we're using wheelchair accessible with other adaptive equipment, and we're putting ourselves literally out there on the street so anybody can try out role-playing gaming. Doesn't matter your creed, color, nationality, education, social status, whatever. These are free. It's free games.
Doesn't matter if you like cats or dogs.
None of that matters. You have to be civil and nice, right? If you show up being threatening and such, well, then we'll call the cops. But everybody is welcome to come try out role-playing gaming. We are as open as it gets in that outreach. To not even limiting it geographically. We're taking it all over the place. So we'll keep doing that. We'll have to figure out what we need to do is we need to get our schedule for the next 6 months figured out so that people can look ahead at what locations. We got to get that nailed down. But at least we got this one going. It's a good start. And it gets us back in the practice of deploying the bus and trailer each month like we used to do. So
because we forget and then things get broken.
Or people get hurt.
Yeah. Nice thumb. Hey, it's coming back.
It's coming back. I don't think it's going to ever be quite the same, though. I think it's always going to be mangled. It's not. This one, too, from the water pump the second day.
Yay! Permanent dents.
So it's January 2019. This happened back in September 2018. And my finger and thumb still are maimed. That's dedication. I've given blood, sweat, tears, and body parts.
It's getting a little sickly there.
All right, well, we better wrap it up because we've got our next show coming up from 6 to 9. Now, is today, I couldn't tell on the calendar anymore, is this applied or theory?
This is applied. No, this is theory.
This is theory?
Yeah. Next applied is on the 10th. I actually made out a little chart here for me because
Oh, good, because
Carla needed
I've
to
gotten a
know.
little confused myself. It's my own calendar, and I'm confused.
Weekly training and meeting today.
Right, they all say that now.
Well, no.
Because it looks like I changed the format to be
no.
we do some theory and applied.
RPG training session is applied.
Okay.
When it says meeting, it is theory.
Okay, I need to revise the language so it's clear where it says applied or theory.
Yeah.
But I think if you read the details in it, it says, I think I was proposing changing it to where it's always theory and applied. We do a little theory and then we do applied every session. The only problem is some sessions don't have enough time if we do that. That's why we were doing the alternating. But it looks like I had proposed that and we didn't go anywhere in the conversation.
I prefer having one day for theory and one day for applied.
Okay.
Because I don't, when I'm doing applied, theory takes too much time. You don't have any time to do any applying.
Theory takes between 15 to minutes to an hour to cover what I need to cover for that particular theory. So that leaves 2 hours,
That's
2.5 hours for
theoretical
gaming.
15 to 20 minutes.
Okay, yes, I can be a little more long-winded about it, I know. Okay, well, as long as the alternating's working for people, I want to make it as accessible to as many people as possible. So, yeah. But that's coming up next from 6 to 9, so we'll be back on the air. We got to reboot everything, and hopefully, and this Windows update is what killed the camera. Hopefully after the update it comes back. We'll be back on the air in about 20 minutes. And remember, swing by RPG Talk Show. And please, if you're not yet a donor and supporter through Patreon of the RPG Research, please do so now. rpgresearch.com and click on Donate. Wherever you may be well, happy gaming, namarie.
And dream well.